We can solve the undocumented immigrant problem like that. It's very, very simple. One solution. Everybody can actually be happy. We don't even have to deport a single person. We don't have to tear up any families. And we can get everybody to abide by the laws. We can do this. There's a simple solution. Relatively simple. Not everybody will be happy, but most everybody will be happy. And we could do this right now. But before I tell you what that solution is, we've got to address the fact that politicians don't want a solution. And here we are, American people with real problems, and our politicians don't really want to solve any of our problems because they like using us. They like using us for political gain. They like pandering to their base. They like fear-mongering in order to get the votes. You got the left saying, oh my gosh, these evil monsters are tearing up families. Oh, what are we going to do? Look at them. They're terrible. They're inhumane. You must vote for me because look at what happens if you don't. The other side says, oh my gosh, they want to break all of our laws. They don't want to be a nation of rules. They just want to let everybody in. They don't have any, they don't care about you. They care about the immigrant more than you. This is terrible. Vote for me because look what happens if you don't. Politicians love to use immigration along with other issues as just a way to fearmonger in order to keep their jobs. And that's why we don't make any progress whatsoever. That's why we don't make any change whatsoever. Not to mention they're bought off. So the mixture of them being bought off and just wanting to pander, fear, to peddle fear in order to get votes, nothing actually changes. And meanwhile, solving the undocumented immigrant problem or the illegal immigrant problem, whatever you want to call it, solving that problem is very, very simple. And it can be done humanely. Nobody has to be deported. And we can end up where exactly we want to be, problem solved. Here's how we do it. You got to go after the demand. You have to stop going after the supply. Right now, what we're doing is, like we saw in the case of Mississippi, they went in, they rounded up 600 workers, and they're now shipping them off, right? They're putting them into centers, or they're scheduling their hearings, and these people are now set for deportation. Meanwhile, what happened to the business owner? Absolutely nothing. And I know people have mentioned this before. They say, well, nothing ever happens to the owner. They only go after these people and they never go after that person. And I want to take this conversation in a different direction altogether. I don't want to complain about how they only go after this group and not this group and how unfair that is. I want to talk about a solution. How are we going to fix the undocumented immigrant problem? And the solution is to go after the business owners. You don't even have to touch any of the undocumented workers. You don't have to deport them. You don't have to round them up. You don't have to put them in inhumane facilities. You don't have to tear up families. You don't have to do any of that. You go after the business owners, and these people will self-deport. Now, let me explain. When you tell the business owners, if we were to enact a rule today, if we were to say right now, if the government, if they actually wanted to solve problems, if they actually today came out and said, okay, here's the deal, business owners, ICE is going to be conducting raids on facilities, but we're not going after the workers. We're going after you. We're coming after you. We want to see the records. We want proof that these people are actually legally here. And if you cannot prove that you have fully legal documented workers, we're going to throw you in the slammer. That's what we're going to do. We're going to put you in jail. We're going to fine you, and we're going to put you in jail. Jail time. Not just fines that you can pay off. Jail time. We're going to shut you down. We're going to give you a deadline. The deadline is 6 months from now. You've got 6 months to get everything in order, to make sure your factories are in order, to make sure your businesses are in order. We'll give you 6 months. Now, and then we're coming. We're coming with a raid, and you better be ready. What this would do is it would do several things. But the first thing is the people that are undocumented, that are working in these facilities, the chilling effect would be immediate. And they would learn, especially after the first round of raids, when this really legitimately happens, that if they can no longer be employed, if the employer lets them go because the employer's now afraid, they're let go, they can't find another job, the economy will regulate the demand. So the supply all of a sudden would dwindle because the demand is low. So if you're an undocumented person coming up from Guatemala or Mexico, you're immediately going to say, I can't work here anymore. I got to go back. You will self-deport, and you'll do it humanely. You'll figure out what you're going to do with your kids. It'll be your choice, rather than you being rounded up and thrown in some detention center and your kid crying outside of school waiting to be picked up. What would happen is So we'd save all the money on all that. We wouldn't need to use ICE to round up all these people and throw them in detention centers that cost a bunch of money. And we wouldn't have the terror and the horror that it does to these kids. We wouldn't have to do any of that because these immigrants would then make a decision for themselves and their families that's best. So they would say, okay, look, we can't survive here anymore. We got to go back to Mexico. We got to go back to Guatemala. Or they might say if their kids are Americans, they'll arrange for their kids to stay with maybe another American family member, and that the kids will just stay, and they'll have the chance to soothe their child and to tell them what's going on and to say, look, mommy and daddy have got to go, but you're going to stay with your aunt, and you guys are going to live here, and it's going to be okay, and you'll come and visit me, and everything will be fine, and I can come visit you because they'll be able to, because they won't have the marks on their records. They'll be able to fly in for visits on visas, and they'll self-deport, and it would be a humane self-deportation. It wouldn't be this terror that we're saying. It would be done on their terms within 6 months, and they would leave because they can't get work. If you can't get work, you can't stay. It's simple. It's very simple. Supply and demand. So that there would take care of all of these undocumented immigrants in the country. If they really could not get a job because the employers were deathly afraid of hiring them, they would self-deport. Now, there would be some other effects to this, right? So right there, you've made the left happy because you're not inhumanely rounding families up or tearing them apart. You're not doing anything inhumanely. You're allowing people the decisions to do the opportunity to make decisions that's best for their family. On the other side of the coin, you're getting the law back on your side. You're getting people to follow the law. You're getting the business owners to follow the law. You're getting these undocumented immigrants to realize that they cannot survive here anymore, that they've got to go. And you're getting what you want. You're getting your lawful society. Everybody wins. Now, what would happen? The real effects, the reality of what would happen. Business owners within that 6 months time period would start screaming because they would realize, oh shit, we can't operate. I mean, if you shut us down, 600 of our workers, if they're gone, we don't have a factory. We can't do any of this. So they're going to demand of the politicians that a change be made in the laws. That's what they're going to have to demand. If all the business owners are if the squeeze is put on the business owners and they're told, look, you either do this or else you're going to jail, they're going to say, wait, but this would have such a huge impact, not only on my business, but the entire community that I live in. So the factory would have to shut down. When the factory shut down, the food production, it has a ripple effect, a domino effect throughout the entire community. So you would have not only the business owners screaming, but then you'd get everybody in the community screaming, saying, oh my gosh, if that factory shuts down, it would be devastating for the entire town. There's not only the undocumented workers working there, but there's other people that are involved that are suppliers and grocery stores and, a variety of the ripple effect. People would go up in arms and they would start screaming for change. And they would demand the politicians make new immigration laws that allow work visas, work permits. So this would allow for all of these undocumented immigrants who are sitting there saying, well, now we have to make arrangements on what we're going to do for our family. Are we going to stay? Are we going to go? Am I going to leave you here and I'm going to leave? There would suddenly be a bit of a shift because the business owners who are employing them, the community who's living around them would say, wait, we actually need them. And so we need to come up with a new plan. We need a new plan on how to keep these people legally here so that they can be here working and beneficial to our economy and beneficial to our community. That would largely happen for sure. Now, in some other cases, some other things would happen. And that would be that some of the business owners that are just greedy and have plenty of money to hire American workers, but that are going the cheap route and they're hiring undocumented workers for way less and mistreating them and getting away with this, they would be forced to hire Americans. So you would end up with, if there are people that want those jobs, they would come and take those jobs. They would have to abide by minimum wage laws, and they would have to pay them reasonable wages, and you would maybe see an increase in employment. But the situations where we would not see the increase in employment would be the situations where nobody wants those jobs. And there are jobs like that where there are no Americans who want those jobs. There's only immigrants, migrants who come in who are willing to work that'll do those dirty jobs or difficult jobs, backbreaking jobs. That is, it would end up, the economy, for those of you who are Republican, the economy would self-regulate itself. And you would live in a society of rules, which is what you want. You ultimately want a society of rules and you want the economy to the free market essentially to determine what's going on. On the left, if you're on the left, Democrat, you would say this is better because you've got a humane deportation process, or the laws change and there is no deportation needed because the workers, it turns out they're needed, they're necessary. So that is how you easily solve the immigration problem. Now, I know it's not totally easy because business owners are going to scream. You've got to put a few in jail. You got to have to do it because you're going to have to show them we're serious. We're not just letting you get away with this. We're serious this time. You cannot hire undocumented workers. Now they say, well, I didn't know they were undocumented. Well, today's age with our technology and our ability, yeah, you could get away with that in like the 80s, maybe the 90s, but you can't get away with that ignorance today. You just can't. And there easily could be a federal system put in place that allows people to track who's who, with the Social Security number. Is this person dead? Because a lot of times immigrants will use a fake Social Security number or a dead person's Social Security number. And you can easily figure that out if we had a system. Not like a system where it's like all big brothery, but you already have a number, guys. You have a Social Security number. Big Brother's already on you. So they would just be able to quickly and easily look up the Social Security number, what age that person is supposed to be. And a lot of times right now, employers just look the other way. They see that the Social Security number is for somebody who's 85 years old and the person sitting in front of them is 22. They see that. They ignore that. And that's what we got to crack down on. We have to crack down on the demand side because it will control automatically the supply. We're doing this all wrong. So that is how we quickly and easily and simply fix immigration. It's that simple. It's that easy. Why our politicians won't come to the table and actually demand this is because they like the fear tactics. They like getting everybody to fight. They like knowing that if they keep us afraid, we're going to keep voting for them because, no, those other people, they're terrible. One side wants to let everybody in and the other side, oh my gosh, they're monsters tearing people apart. So they like to use the fear-mongering tactics. We, as the American people, need to stand up and say, we're not going to let you get away with this anymore, guys. We demand solutions. We've got a solution. We demand that you enforce it. This is what we want. We want you to go after the demand. That's what we want. Go after the demand. The supply will fix itself. That's how we fix this. Thank you so much for watching. If you'd like to support the show, you can so do that on my Patreon or PayPal down below. The links are there. And thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you again soon.